Hello everyone, hope you're all doing fine. So today's topic is about primary lymphoid organs. I have already mentioned about the immunity, immune response and immune system. So immune system is our body's defense system. It works with the help of some lymphoid organs. Mainly, according to its function, the lymphoid organs can be differentiated into primary and secondary lymphoid organs. I'm going to stick it with primary lymphoid organs. So primary lymphoid organs is mainly thymus and bone marrow. So this thymus and the bone marrow is the place where the maturation of the lymphocytes take place. And in the secondary lymphoid organs, which consist of lymph node, spleen, and various mucous-associated lymphoid tissue, malt, and also galt, gut-associated lymphoid tissue, all these organs provide the sites for mature lymphocytes to interact with the antigen. Okay, and then the bone marrow. So I'm starting with the bone marrow, which is a primary lymphoid organ. So as you can see, the bone marrow, it is a soft gelatinous tissue which fills the medullary cavities of the center of the bone. There is two type of bone marrow, red and yellow. Red, which is made up with myeloid tissue, yellow, which is made up with fatty tissue. These two types of bone marrow is enriched with lots of blood vessels, capillaries, and there is two type of stem cells which is seen in bone marrow: mesenchymal stem cells and hematopoietic stem cells. So in bone marrow, approximately 200 billion new RBC forms every day, along with the white blood cells, platelets. So bone marrow do a very important role in our body. And the bone marrow comprises approximately 5% of total body mass in healthy adult humans. The bone marrow contains a mixture of cellular and non-cellular components. Bone marrow is divisible into two regions, vascular regions and hematopoietic region. So hematopoietic region, as we said before, I think it consists of red marrow. We already say that there is two type of bone marrow, red and yellow. Red, which is made up with myeloid, and yellow, which is made up with fat. So this hematopoietic region will have the red marrow, and that is the place where the actively blood will form. Okay, so monocytes, macrophages, neutrophils, basophils, eosinophils, erythrocyte, T and B cells, natural killers, everything will be formed in that red marrow, and that's the place where hematopoiesis happen, and all this together called hematopoietic region. Okay, and then the vascular region. Vascular region is the circulatory system that supplies nutrient and removes the waste from the actively growing blood vessels, so that it does the part of cleaning. Okay, in the case of a newborn baby, its bone will be exclusively contain hematopoietically active red marrow, and there is a progressive conversion towards yellow marrow. Okay, so the red myeloid tissue, when we age, it will be replaced with the help of, not with the help of, it will be replaced by the yellow marrow, which is fatty tissue. In adults, the red marrow is found mainly in the central skeleton, such as pelvis, sternum, cranium, ribs, vertebrae, and scapulae, and variably found in the proximal epiphyseal ends of the long bones, such as the femur and humerus. So these are the places where the red marrow is seen in adults. However, the body can convert the yellow marrow back to red marrow to increase blood cell production if there is a requirement of any types of cells. So it can change even if the red marrow will be converted into yellow marrow as we occur the age, it can change into red when there is a need of cells. Bone marrow is composed of hematopoietic cells, marrow adipose tissue, and supportive stromal cells. Red marrow is in the hematopoietic region, which contain hematopoietic stem cells. So that's the place where red blood cells and all the blood cells will be formed. Okay, so hematopoietic stem cells give rise to progenitor cell, which can form the three classes of blood cells that are found in circulation: white blood cells, red blood cells, and platelets. and that formation, all this, the formation of all red blood cells or all type of blood cells from the totipotent stem cells is called hematopoiesis. The storm of bone marrow includes all tissue not directly involved in the marrow, primary function of hematopoiesis. Stromal cells indirectly involved in hematopoiesis, providing a microenvironment for the function and differentiation of hematopoietic cells. By producing cytokines such as colony stimulating factor, that's an example. So, stromal cells types include fibroblast, macrophages, adipocytes, osteoblast, osteoclast, endothelial cells, which form the sinusoids. In human bone marrow, it is a site where B cell will be originate and mature. In human bone marrow itself, the T cells will be originated, but the T cells will mature in thymus. So, immature B cells arise from the lymphoid progenitor, interact with the stromal cells and proliferate and differentiate within the bone marrow. This proliferation and differentiation of the B cells is into effector cells and memory cells. Okay, the memory cells is long lasting and effector cells having only short life. Functions of bone marrow. It is a site of generation of all immunocytes and the site of maturation and differentiation of B cells. Perform the role of secondary lymphoid organ also, as large number of plasma cells are produced in the bone marrow during secondary immune response. We have already discussed about what is secondary immune response in previous classes. Secondary immune response, or we can say acquired immunity or adaptive immunity. It is the immunity which is very specific, which is second line of defense, which is having 4 characteristics like antigenic specificity, diversity, and immunological memory, non and self cells recognition. Okay, so this bone marrow, when we discuss about the functions of the bone marrow, it will perform the role of secondary lymphoid organs also, as a large number of plasma cells are produced in the bone marrow during secondary immune response, during adaptive immunity. And they secrete large amount of antibodies. In birds, when we discuss about where this B cell will develop, it is in bursa of fabricus. And in case of cattle and sheep, in fetal stage it is in spleen and then the smaller intestine. In rabbit, it is in gut associated tissue, appendix. This B cell will form. So here the blood cell development is shown. Stem cell, hematopoietic stem cell, okay, it have an ability to self renewal. That is shown here by a curved arrow, self renewing. Okay, and really it can be, it can be differentiated into 2 type, myeloid progenitor and lymphoid progenitor. Lymphoid progenitor will generate natural killers, and lymphoid progenitor will generate the T cell progenitor and B cell progenitor, which will forms. T cell progenitor will form T helper cells and T cytotoxic cells, where B cell progenitor will form B cells, and also lymphoid progenitor give rise to dendritic cells. And then the another branch of this hematopoietic stem cells, when it is differentiated, it will be changed into myeloid progenitor. Well, myeloid progenitor will also generate dendritic cells and granulocyte monocyte lineage, which generate monocyte, macrophages, neutrophils. Eosinophil progenitor will form eosinophil. Basophil progenitor will form basophil. Megakaryote will produce platelets. Erythrocyte progenitor will form erythrocytes. Okay, that is shown in the picture. So the stem cells in the red bone marrow give rise to undifferentiated lymphocyte. The B lymphocytes will be released into blood and will be transported into the lymph node. Okay, here you can see the lymph node in a green color, and the Bone marrow itself produces T lymphocytes, and that T lymphocytes will go and mature in thymus, and through the blood it will transport it into lymph node. Okay. And next, primary lymphoid organ, thymus. Thymus is the site of T cell development and maturation. It is a bilobed gland situated above the heart in the thorax region. Each lobe is surrounded by a capsule, and it is divided into lobules which are separated by the strands of connective tissue called trabeculae. So as you can see here, the thymus is situated in between of the two lungs and above the heart. So when we born, it will be around a weight of 7 gram. Then as we age, its weight will be less and less. So this is located behind the sternum and between the lungs above the heart. It is only active until puberty. Okay, this is the place where thymosin, a type of hormone which is developed from here, thymus. It is producing the disease fighting T cells or development. It is not producing. T cell is produced from the bone marrow, and it is developed and matured in thymus, which is disease fighting. Thymus or T cells is really disease fighting. So this is a bilobe gland, and it is surrounded by a capsule. Here you can see the structure. Capsule, there is capsule, and there is nurse cell. Nurse cell, thymocytes. Nurse cells is covering some thymocytes, and the outer section is cortex, the inner section is medulla. Okay, in the inner section, when you concentrate on the medulla portion, there is Hassel corpus cells, interdigitating dendritic cells, etc. Okay, so this is the structure. So the outer compartment, which is called the cortex, it is densely populated with the thymus cells. Okay, and the inner compartment medulla. Okay, the inner compartment medulla, we can see macrophages, Hassel corpus cells, medullary epithelial cells, and the nurse cell, which is seen here. The nurse cell is a type of a special kind of epithelial cell, it is a, and it is seen in cortex, and it have a long membrane extension, as you can see in here. It will surround approximately 50 thymocytes at a time. Here we can see that it is surrounding 2 or 3 thymocytes, but it can surround 50 thymocytes at a time. Okay, and in medulla section we can find out this Hassel corpus structure. Hassel corpus cell is degenerating center. Okay, and the cortex is, as we said before, it is densely populated with thymus cells, and there is corticomedullary zone. Okay, the zone in between the cortex and medulla. In this region, it is the region where it is highly vascularized. Vascularized means presence of blood vessels. Okay, and the both cortex and medulla, they have been crisscrossed here, and there is also epithelial and dendritic macrophage cells are seen here. The cortex contains densely packed, mostly immature and proliferating thymocytes. Medulla is sparsely populated with thymocytes. Okay, and about 98% of T cells die in thymus. So that is a place the T cells will develop and mature in thymus. But also 98% of all T cells die in thymus. Okay, remaining the T cells leave the medulla to enter the peripheral blood circulation, through which they are transported to secondary lymphoid organs. Besides lymphoid cells, it contains epithelial cells, macrophages, dendritic cells. Okay, and nerve cells encircle developing thymocytes, Hassel corpus cells found in medulla and containing concentric layer of degenerating epithelial cells. And the function of the thymus. Thymus is the place where maturation and development of T cells happens. Through a positive selection mechanism, thymus ensures it can interact with the self MHC, major histocompatibility complex, MHC. Okay, and through negative selection mechanism, those that react intensively with self antigen MHC deleted and stop danger of causing autoimmune diseases. Thymus ensures central thymic tolerance. Okay, and the role of thymus in immune function is that when we do the thymectomy means surgical removal of thymus. Okay, when it is done, the mice, after the mice is called, after the thymectomy, the mice is called nude mice. Nude mice or nude mouse is unable to produce the T cells and is therefore immunodeficient and increase in infections. When there is a abnormality or some problems related with the thymus in humans, that will create into DJOR syndrome, a mutation on 22nd chromosomes, absence of thymus, and so T cell deficiency. So immunity will be compromised in such persons. Aging and thymic function have a great relationship. Okay, not that kind of relationship. The aging and thymus have related to each other. Okay, thymus diminishes in size with age. Thymus attains maximum size at puberty, then degenerate with a decrease in both cortical and medullary cell, an increase in total fat content. In infants, the average weight of thymus is 30 gram. In elders, the average weight is 3 gram. The age depends in evolution leaves an organ to reduced weight. Okay, so this is the as I said before, the thymus will be replaced with fat tissue as we ages. Okay, and the thymus at the infant, when we are infant, it will be in the 30 gram, and when we mature, the thymus weight will be much less than the previous. So this is all about thymus and bone marrow. Hope it helps.